All right, last but not least, we get into security. That rhymed, and I'm proud of myself. Anyway, 95% of cybersecurity issues involve some form of human element, right? So technology is only as secure as the damn people using it. And unfortunately, the average breach costs over $4.4 million. So everything that got breached, from healthcare to financial stuff to some of the biggest corporations and it's costing millions and millions of dollars, and it's ruining people's lives. So this is why it's important for you guys to hop on board, to know how to fix this stuff and know how to protect yourself, your loved ones, and anybody else, right? So one of the biggest things we want to talk about is the CIA triad: confidentiality, integrity, and availability when it comes to data and information. Confidentiality means that only the people that's supposed to see the stuff. Integrity means that it stays true to what it was, no changes, nobody messed with it, nobody manipulated, nobody did anything weird. Availability means that when I want it, I can access it. CIA stays secret, stays the same, stays available when I need it. Another thing we want to look at is the AAA method or AAA model. So that's authentication, authorization, and accounting. Authentication, you are who you say you are. Authorization, you actually can access the things you're trying to access. And accounting, we know who accesses, when they accessed it, and what they actually did while they had access to it. In 2026, 60% of all data breaches involve some type of human element. Stolen credentials, social engineering, errors, whatever. These breaches were caused by personal information being sent to the wrong recipient, the wrong person have access to it, and it would never know, super sophisticated technical attacks. These were just basic failures of security, people going outside the AAA method, people going outside of the CIA triad. For example, let's say a customer or a hacker, okay, a hacker reads the customer data that they're not authorized to have access to. Which one of the CIA triad is that encroaching on? Which one of that got breached? Did confidentiality get breached? Did integrity get breached? Or did availability get breached? A hacker reads a customer data that they're not supposed to have access to. 3, 2, 1. Confidentiality, right? That's broken. It's all bad. It's no bueno. Now let's talk about device best practices. So, of course, you need to be using anti-malware and software, right? So Norton, No Plug, or just whatever antivirus that you use. Have software firewalls as well as device firewalls, as well as actual rules on those firewalls that make sense to keep out the stuff that you don't want, but let the stuff that you do want come through. Patching and updates is one of the easiest things you could do to make sure that your attack surface and the vulnerabilities that Microsoft, Google, whatever device you're using, Apple knows about, you can patch those so the hackers, the bad actors, the crazy people can't take advantage of you, right? Then you also got physical security, super stuff, locking your damn phone, locking your workstation, not leaving a password underneath your desk, or having a whole damn diary of passwords, right? Also, safe browsing. So avoid clicking anything that's weird, avoid going to any websites that are weird. And like I said, mobile device security, maybe having a privacy screen on your laptop, having a privacy screen on your phone, because phones are big as hell now. And you might need to have a privacy screen. I'm also having remote wipe capabilities as well, meaning that somebody get your phone, if they put in a password wrong too many times, it'll wipe it. Or if you just can't find it, can't recover it, you can wipe it remotely. Now let's go over some more super simple stuff, but just to make sure, when it comes to passwords, right? There's a couple password best practices. The length, it should be 12 plus characters. It should be complex. It should have uppercase, lowercase, numbers, special characters, and avoid anything that's in the damn dictionary. It should be unique. So don't have the same password across multiple platforms, because if somebody cracks one platform, they'll have your password for all these other platforms, right? Privacy. Don't share your damn password with nobody. It's the secret. Shh. Password managers, you can use tools like that, but the only thing about those, though, is that if they crack your password manager, they got all your passwords, but it's up to you. Then you also got multi-factor authentication. Multi-factor authentication just combines something that you know, something that you have, and something that you are, right? Even if a password is stolen, MFA is going to block that. So, for example, somebody may have your username and password. That's something that you know. They put that in, but then the multi-factor authentication sends a code or some type of pass key to your phone. That would be the extra layer, right? That would be multi-factor. I got to know your password and your account name. I have to have your cell phone, right? Multi-factor. You have to do multiple things to get through. Now, encryption types, you got plain text versus cipher text. Plain text is plain text, meaning that it's literally readable. Ain't no hieroglyphics. It ain't nothing weird. You can read exactly what it says. Cipher text is something that is encrypted and it is unreadable. Now we got different types of data encryption. You got data at rest or data in transit. So data at rest is your hard drive is encrypted, right? Data at rest, data that is not moving. Or you got data in transit where it's actually encrypting as it's going across a network. So that could be HTTPS, TSL, VPN, or a virtual private network. You got a VPN, like I said earlier. So a VPN is used when you're on a public network. You're at Starbucks, you're in a hotel. I would strongly advise you use a VPN. You can connect to the public Wi-Fi, and a VPN secures all the traffic that you're using across that network. So technically, you're on a public network and it makes all your traffic, all your information, it puts it in a little encapsulated tube, makes it safe so nobody can see it. Then you got mobile encryption, and that's going to allow you to fully encrypt laptops, cell phones, and mobile devices. Now let's get into a question I want to put on the screen. A hospital IT department needs to ensure that the patient's medical record stored on a database server cannot be read if the server hardware is stolen. They also need to verify that the records have not been altered without authorization since they were created. Which two security measures best address these requirements? And remember, throw curveballs in there. So just because I got that orange block around, that does not mean that is the answer. Well, maybe it is. I don't know. What do you think? Let me move me out the damn way so you can see. Give you guys a couple more seconds. 3, 2, 1. So hopefully I didn't trick you too bad. That is the answer. So data at rest encryption and data integrity hashing. So it said cannot be read if hardware is stolen. That is a confidentiality concern. You need to protect the data even when the physical device is in the wrong hands. So that's why you encrypt the actual hard drive. You take the hard drive, you take the whole damn thing, it does not matter. You can use something like BitLocker, which is going to fully encrypt the entire hard drive. And if the server is stolen, encrypted data cannot be read unless they got the damn key too. So file records have not been altered without authorization. This is integrity. That's a concern around that. And the solution is hashing. Hashing is real simply put, a cryptographic hash of a database record. It acts as a fingerprint. So if any field is changed, even one thing, you turn a 1 to a 2, it's going to be inside there and it's going to say, hey, somebody tampered with this stuff. We went through all 6 domains, and I want to tell you exactly what the hell you need to do on test day. So I'm going to give you a strategy to turn all this knowledge that we just learned into a passing score on exam day. The process of elimination is your best friend. Even when you don't know the answer, you almost always know, hey, that ain't it. I don't know what the answer is, but I know that one is not it. So cross out any clearly wrong answers. Often you can get, you can scratch out at least 2 of the obvious, okay, I know it's not that, right? And then worst kind of worse, you can do a coin flip in between the last 2, right? Hopefully you know exactly what the hell the answer is, but just make sure that you don't know. That you don't pick, one of the answers you know it's not. Also, you got to watch for CompTIA's language on the actual exam. The words most, best, fastest, cheapest, best, first thing, last thing. Make sure that you are paying attention to those things. Also, make sure that you're paying attention to multiple answers. Some questions if they're multiple choice and it has multiple answers. So if it says choose all that apply, choose all the ones that apply, please. All right. Also manage your time, man. 70 questions, 60 minutes. That means that you got about 50 seconds per question. If a question is taking you more than a minute, minute and a half, flag it and come back to it. Don't let just one hard ass question tank, the 10 easy ones that may be after it. Okay. Also, take at least, I would say, 5 to 10 full practice tests before you go through the exam. Not to see if you pass, but it's really just to see and identify what am I the weakest at, right? If you score a 60 on security questions and a 90 on networking, then your ass need to be paying attention to security because you already got networking. And if you need a practice question or anything like that, we have a full exams simulator in our IT for beginners program. And we also have exam simulator that can help you for an A plus, Net plus, or a security plus. And remember, you need a 650. That's all you need, man. But this all you need is a 650 out of 900. That's about 72%. And you can miss 20 questions and still pass. You ain't got to be perfect. You just need to be sufficient to pass this, build your confidence, and do what you need to do. Don't overthink it. Your first instinct is usually right. And if you're taking it at home or if you go into an exam center, just be prepared. If you're physically going somewhere, depending on where you live, if you're in a major city, Houston, Los Angeles, New York, Chicago, a place that gets crazy ass traffic, leave early because the last thing you want to do is be rushing, trying to get there, and just, be in a cool, calm environment. So congratulations, man. You just finished the complete course. This is what you need to do right now. Whatever notes you have, whatever domains you're the weakest at, you need to rewatch those domains. Review all the domains where it was unclear or if you got any of the questions wrong. If you're super serious about starting a tech career, learning all the fundamentals of IT and passing this certification in 7 days, go over to itmasterkey.com now, passtechcerts.com, and enroll into our IT for Beginners program. We guarantee that you can pass this certification in 7 days. This is what you need to do if you really are ready to win. Last but not least, at least comment done. If you made it all the way to the end of this, I'm proud of you. Comment done. Tell me that you completed the course. I'm going to read every comment. Let me know what you got going on, where you're from, if this was helpful, if this was valuable, what other courses would you like to see? Also, make sure we got an entire playlist with over 100 videos right here on YouTube. Look at our IT for Beginners playlist. Don't wait. Go watch all those other damn videos that we have. But if you really are ready to stop doing this on your own, if you're really ready to learn from me and my team and get the same wins, the same tutelage, the same shit that you need to really make this happen and start getting certified, go ahead over to passtechcerts.com. You can enroll into our IT for Beginners program and you can pass in 7 days. If this free stuff is valuable to you, just imagine what you're going to get once you invest in yourself. Other than that, I was more than happy to help you pass this exam. I hope it was valuable for you, and I'll see you in class.